Well, good morning, and yes, it's me, Kenny Pulcari, and yes, I'm going all Tommy Bahama again. It's about 85 degrees, and it's only 8:30 in the morning, and look at that sky. Is it absolutely stunning, completely blue, not a cloud in the sky, and the water behind me like glass. There's no current, there's no waves, there's nothing pushing and pulling, and so I wonder if that's indicative about what we're going to see today. So, ladies and gentlemen, today is Monday, May 20th, 2024, and here are the things that you need to know to get your day and your week started. So yes, the Dow closed above 40,000 while the S&P retook 5,300. The Nasdaq is just 1.8% away from piercing 17,000. I think it happens this week. Nvidia and AI are going to be the focus this week, and remember, it's a crowded trade, so hold on to your hats. Gold surges up and through 2,400 as the rate cut narrative continues to gain steam, which I think is ridiculous. And tensions are rising in the Middle East, right? Oil kisses $80 again. And what do we have in dinner tonight? We're going to have the oven roasted barbecue chicken thighs. They're simple to make, one pan. That's it. Easy. We made it yesterday. Okay. Over the weekend, I joined Maria Bartiromo on Friday evening with her Wall Street Week show, Maria Bartiromo's Wall Street Week. I posted the link to my Twitter, so you can find it there at Kenny Pulcari. You can find the link to that interview. So we had a lot to discuss. It was a very interesting conversation, and there's just more to come, right? And so it's done. Like I said, the Dow pierced 40,000 on Thursday. It failed to hold it. It teased it all day on Friday, and then as they tried desperately to take it there, right, unable to get it there, many betting that it was not possible, as the Dow really tested between 38,858 and 39,995, back and forth during the day, seemingly unable to push it up and through. But at 3:59 p.m., in a dramatic move, the Momo guys think the algos just couldn't take it anymore. They gave it one last college try, sending the Dow up and through 40,000 to close at 40,003. Now, all they had to do really is focus on buying up a couple of the names of the Dow, right? Caterpillar, UNH, Goldman Sachs, and JP Morgan, which all closed on upticks, just FYI. And remember, the Dow is a price-weighted index. CAT's at $350 stock. UNH is $525. Goldman Sachs is a $460 stock. JP Morgan is a $205 stock. So if they go after the highest price stocks, they can move the average in a very short amount of time. So they wait till the last minute, and boom, there it is. Dow 40,000, and they closed it there. The other indexes ended the day mixed. The S&P up 6. The Nasdaq just lost 12 points, right? Nvidia was down 2%, so think about that. The Russell lost 1 point. The transfers were down 60, and the S&P equal weight was up 10. Now remember, last week we discussed the whole relative strength index thing. Recall that the Dow was just a hair below the 70 line, right? Which defines overbought and not overbought. And that just suggests caution ahead, right? As the market appears to be a bit stretched. Well, as of Friday night, the relative strength index for the Dow is now 70.2374, putting us in official overbought territory, which again only means be patient. Doesn't mean anything else. The S&P remains sub 70 at 67.93. The Nasdaq is at 65.21. The Russell's at 61.34. The transport's at 51.71, and the equal weighted S&P is hugging 66.01. Right? So it's a dogfight. Can they continue to push it up? Yes. I'm just saying be strategic. Now, in addition to that, Dow 40,000 and the S&P did take back 5,300 after teasing it earlier last week, right? Failing to hold on, only to take it back on Friday. The Nasdaq 17,000, which is a big number, remains elusive. The Nasdaq closed at 16,685. It needs to gain about 1.8% in order to take it there. I think it happens this week. And why? Think Nvidia. They are due to report on Wednesday afternoon after the bell. And the sense is that they are going to just kill it. They're going to crush it again. That they can't make enough chips. They can't make chips fast enough, and that AI is the story. And it is the story. And remember the announcement. They just announced that new chip. Now listen, when Jensen Huang takes to the stage, is he going to disappoint or is he not going to disappoint? Look, they're expected to report $563 per share. Right? They're expected to report revenues of $24.5 billion, up 265%, although the whisper number is $26 billion, which means if the markets are really looking for the whisper number, $26 billion, and they report the expected number of 24.5, up 200%, is that a disappointment? I think it's ridiculous, but that's how they'll view it. Net income of 12.28 billion. That's up 768%. Net profit margins of 55.5%. The stock is quoted. The stock fell 2% on Friday, but this morning it's actually quoted higher, right? Quoted up about 1.3%. Now remember what happened last earnings season? They sold the stock into the earnings, down about 10%. Only to take it up 47% after the earnings came out, and Jensen Huang did not disappoint, and the forward guidance was very robust. So it's very interesting to see the action in Nvidia stock, especially as we come into the days leading up to the earnings, because all the guys that sold it last quarter in front of the earnings all jumped back in because they couldn't stand it. They had to be back in, so they were the ones who helped take it right back up 47%. So I think it's ridiculous, right? But those are traders. That's what they do. This morning, like I said, Nvidia's traded quoted up $13 or 1.4%. Now, how are you positioning yourself? Are you betting against Jensen Huang? I'm not. And while I'm not adding to my position, right, because it is a little bit overweight in my portfolio, I have not sold any, nor do I intend to sell any. I'm thinking this is going to be a $1,000 stock by the end of Thursday. Recall that in February, it surged by 11% the day after the earnings announcement, right? If we have that same reaction, then Nvidia is going to be trading at 1,025, assuming that it remains right here at the 925 range, right? If they sell it off today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, then we'll have to just do a recalculation. But one way or another, it's Nvidia. And I'm hoping that they announce a stock split. But my gut says they're not going to do that because I think they like the idea of being an expensive stock. It gives them a little cachet, I think, right? In addition, we're going to get earnings from Snowflake, Palo Alto Networks, Target, Lowe's, but the focus is clearly going to be smack on Nvidia and AI. It is a decent week for economic data. We're going to get data that's going to add to the Fed conversation as well as the inflation conversation. Look for the Philly Fed non-manufacturing survey, which is services, tomorrow. We're going to get mortgage apps. We're going to get existing home sales on Wednesday, expected to be up 0.6%. We're going to get the FOMC minutes, where I don't expect to hear anything new. Thursday brings us the S&P Manufacturing and Services PMIs, expected to be 49.9 and 51.4 respectively. New home sales are supposed to be down 2.1%. Kansas City Fed manufacturing activity, and then on Friday we're going to get the durable goods capital goods ordered, capital goods shipped, and the Kansas City Fed services activity, and of course the University of Michigan sentiment surveys. Bonds were a little changed last week on Friday as investors just wait more economic data. The 2-year this morning is yielding 4.81% after bouncing off of 4.7% earlier in the week, while the 10-year is yielding 4.41% after bouncing off of 4.3%. The dollar index has been in decline on the idea that the Fed is going to cut rates. So it's been in decline for a month or so. Lower rates make the dollar less attractive. So it's down about 2%. From the early May high, right? Trading at about 104.17 this morning. As the market continues to tread water here at the highs, the VIX, which is the fear index, continues to trade lower, and that does make some sense. Apparently, there's no fear out there. On Friday, the VIX closed at 1217, a level not seen since December of 23. In my mind, all you have to do is think about this. You need one event that no one's expecting that's going to reignite the fire of fear. So just pay attention. Oil continues to rally, trading up and through 80 on Friday. This morning it's just a little bit back off, trading at 79.75 or so. Last week, Brent gained 1%. West Texas gained 2% on the week. Economic data from the U.S. and China being the reasons cited for the moves. Now remember, U.S. and China are the world's largest consumers of oil. Oil remains in the $78-81 trading range and will likely do so until we get a new catalyst. I think it's OPEC Plus. I think it's going to be their policy statement, and you know what? They're expected to continue those production cuts through the summer. Apparently, the death of Iran's President Raisi and the foreign minister is a non-event for oil, because if they were, I think you would have seen oil trade much higher, right? But this morning, it is not. Gold surged last week, up and through 2,400 on Friday, and this morning it's up another 25 points, trading at 24.45. And why? Well, because it won't stop the rate cut narrative either. They are convinced that we're getting a rate cut, right? So they're still pushing that multiple rate narrative before the end of the year. In addition, we have the ongoing tension in the Middle East after a Chinese-bound oil tanker was hit by a Houthi missile in the Red Sea on Saturday. But unlike oil, gold is reacting to the recent death of the Iranian president over the weekend and the ongoing conflict in Israel. Notice we aren't even talking about Ukraine and Russia anymore, not unless Jojo wants to give Ukraine more money. Then we'll talk about Ukraine and Russia, but beyond that, we're not. U.S. futures this morning were churning, right? The Dow was up 11, the S&P's up 5, Nasdaq was up 35, and the Russell was up 2. Now expect to hear lots about AI this week between Nvidia earnings, and then you're going to get Palo Alto and Snowflake. We're also going to get hit with 2 days worth of how will AI shape your future at the Microsoft Builders event that takes place in Seattle from the 21st to the 23rd. I gave you the link in my note. You can look it up and see, right? It's all very interesting. European markets are mixed. France and Germany are tied at up 1/3%, while Italy is getting slammed down 1.5%. Not really sure why, but they are down. The S&P closed at 5303, up 6 points on Friday, right? As discussed, the markets continue to churn in place on Friday. And while the Dow closed above 40,000 and the S&P closed above 5,300, there weren't any real fireworks, right? Expect the conversations this week to be focused on Nvidia and the earnings, the other earnings this week, right? I mean, Nvidia's up 90% year to date. It's up 213% over the past 12 months. And as you can imagine, this is a crowded trade. There's a lot riding on what Jensen Huang will say, not only about the earnings, but about the future. Now, for investors, the question is, can the bullish Fed rate cut narrative story be sustainable or not? Is the market once again getting too excited about a narrative that they all created? Well, because the Fed did not create this narrative, right? But let's just see. Wednesday's FOMC minutes are out, and my gut says we're not going to learn anything new. In fact, I think they're going to be more hawkish than dovish. And while JJ did say that rates are not most likely going higher, he also did not say that they were going lower anytime soon. And he for sure never intimated multiple rate cuts from the Fed, right? And every Fed head that's been speaking over the last 2 weeks has supported the other narrative, not the rate cut narrative, right? Or at least the multiple rate cut narrative. There are 15 year-end targets on the S&P, 15 by 15 different banks. As of today, 9 of those targets have been breached, with JP Morgan calling for the S&P to end the year at 4,200. The RBC and Barclays are at 5,300 by December. Now, it's Bank of America and UBS have 5,400 target on it. Oppenheimer and Deutsche Bank have a $5,500 target on it. Wells Fargo at 5,535, and BMO has a $5,600 target on it, right? So there's a lot to think about and a lot to position yourself for. I'm just curious whether some of those really negative investment banks are going to change their minds or not. Okay, so what do we have for dinner tonight? We're going to have this barbecue chicken thighs. You make these in the oven, but they taste really like barbecue because you use a lot of barbecue sauce and it's delicious. So we made these yesterday. They're easy to make. It's one pan, not a mess. You take your chicken thighs, skin on. You need salt and pepper. You need adobo, which is like a Spanish spice. You can buy it in the condiment section. It's great to use on a bunch of things, but we use it on chicken, all kinds of chicken dishes. You need olive oil, and you need Sweet Baby Ray's original barbecue sauce. Now, they get a range of barbecue sauces, so you can use any one you want. We use Sweet Baby Ray's original. So take the chicken pieces, rinse them, pat them dry with paper towels, put them in the baking, we put them in a big aluminum baking dish. We season them with salt and pepper and adobo on all sides, and I put a little bit of olive oil on it, and I massage the chicken thighs all over to make sure that they were nice and seasoned. Preheated the oven to 350 degrees, cover them tightly with tin foil, put the whole pan in the oven, let them cook for an hour and a half, covered nice and tightly like that. Now, take it out of the oven, take the top off. Now take your Sweet Baby Ray's. Squirt your Sweet Baby Ray's all over the chicken. Now, turning the chicken after you put in the barbecue sauce so that the chicken all gets coated in the barbecue sauce. Now, put it back in the oven, let it cook in there for another 30 minutes with the barbecue sauce on. Now, take it out. Turn all the pieces up so that the skin side is up. Turn your broiler on. Put the chicken back in the middle rack because you want to crisp it up. So you want to broil it from the top. Don't put the chicken right under the heat because you'll burn them really quickly. It happens really, really fast. So put the chicken in the middle rack. Turn the broiler on, stay there and watch it, but you want the chicken to get kind of nice and crispy because that makes it really also good. So then it's done. Take it out, then it's done. And we serve this with, we made wild rice and we made French cut green beans. I didn't even make a salad because that was enough, right? The rice, the beans, and the chicken, it falls off the bone. It's so good. It's one pan, easy to clean up. You are going to love this. In any event, look at this. It's only gotten brighter out here and warmer. Let's hope that's what happens to the markets today. In any event, until tomorrow, take good care.